Greetings, folks! I've seen numerous videos on what you should or should not include in a get-home bag. My strategy for get-home bags is centered around how far I will have to travel and how long I would expect that to take me. And then I try to take only what may be required. I'd rather do this than pile everything into a large bag and then have to abandon things I did not need due to weight. You should not carry more than you have to, as this will slow you down and lengthen the journey. So this is my first level bag, and it will focus on having to walk 5 to 10 miles in a single day to get back home or back to an area where I could get help. Some of you might say, but I can walk farther than that in a single day. That may be true, but can you guarantee when you will start walking or in what weather? Have you walked in the woods in complete darkness? Have you had to walk through a blizzard or a violent thunderstorm? Using the hours without shelter from the rule of threes, 3 minutes without air, 3 hours without shelter, 3 days without water, and 3 weeks without food, how far could one realistically make it without that shelter in adverse conditions? This is why I kind of limit it to that distance. So with that strategy defined, here is what I carry in my 5 to 10 mile get-home bag. This is my most common bag that is usually in the back of my car. This is my Maxpedition Colossus shoulder bag with the water bottle pouch attached to the side. All up, this pack weighs about 15 pounds, with about 3.5 of that being water. Rather than having you watch me pull everything out and spread it out in a mess, I'll present the items in the following groups: air, shelter, water, food, navigation, communications, first aid, and then finally miscellaneous tools. As I go along, you'll notice that some items appear in multiple categories. This is because they have multiple uses. In the first category, air, I have an N95 mask. This is in case of dust, smoke, or pandemic. I also have a shemagh, which can help shield your face, shield dust. And then I wear glasses, so I have a pair of cheap clip-on sunglasses and a glasses cleaning cloth. Those two are both from my personal EDC. So shelter. On a 5 to 10 mile hike home, I do not expect to stop and be building a shelter. So shelter for me is going to focus on the clothing that I have with me that I carry as part of my car EDC. Here on the table, I have a representative of the cross-section of clothing that might be in my car, because you have to remember that you need to prepare for the extremes of the seasons, not the averages. You have to prepare for the high during the day and the low during the night, and you need to continually be updating your car EDC of clothing as the seasons change. So here are some of the things that I carry and some of the variation that you'll see within my get home. So to start out, I have my Keen hiking boots and a pair of wool socks. Then for pants, I start out with a pair of Columbia hiking pants that can convert to shorts. As the seasons get colder, I move up to a pair of True Spec pants, and then finally to a pair of Lands' End pants that are actually flannel lined for warmth. In terms of the upper part of the body, I start out with a short sleeved Under Armour shirt, then I move to a long sleeve shirt. I'll add in a fleece layer. Obviously I'll have a wind and rain shell for the spring, summer, light fall. Then I move to a winter parka. I will have leather gloves, then thermal gloves. In terms of covering for the head and neck, in the summer, spring, fall, it'll be a shemagh, but then I'll move up to a fleece neck gaiter, a beanie for my head as opposed to a baseball cap in the summer months. I also have a poncho in my car EDC as well as an umbrella. This depends on the weather for the day. I may or may not throw them into my bag. I also have a survival blanket, sunscreen, and bug spray. And that rounds out my shelter category. As I transition between shelter and water, I put up a subcategory of fire as it enables both. I don't plan on stopping to build a fire, but if weather conditions or the need to purify water demanded, here's what I would have with me. First off, I'd have my fire steel. I like that one. I can throw good sparks off it. I'd obviously have a lighter, which I would try first. Wet fire. About 6 cotton balls that I have soaked in Vaseline. I then have my stormproof matches. I have some Kleenex that I can also use as tinder. And then if everything else failed, I have a Fresnel lens that I could try to use the sun to start a fire. obviously that would be the last choice. Now in the category of water, as you can see, I'd have the 4 bottles of water from my car everyday carry. In addition to that, I would have the 40-ounce clean canteen. So I would take those Dasani water bottles and pour a couple of them, about 2.5, into the clean canteen, and I would start off with that for the day. Now if I needed more water and I had to purify water, I have a coffee filter and some rubber bands that I can use to filter out grime out of the water, as well as my Shamag down there, and I have some rubber bands to hold it on. Once the water is in the bottle, I then have some water purification tablets, and this is where I have a bit of a mismatch. The clean canteen is a 40-ounce container. The tablets purify 32 ounces. So what I'm probably going to do is get a bit of a smaller stainless steel canteen, probably from the Pathfinder school. They seem to have a good one. If for whatever reason the water purification tablets didn't work, I have the fire starting kit. That is a stainless steel container, so I could plop that right in the middle of the fire, boil water, and purify my water that way. The next category is food. Now, as this is only a 5 to 10 mile hike, I do not expect to be stopping and making any meals, but definitely food goes a long way towards keeping you moving and keeping your morale up. So you'll notice from my personal EDC, I have my Altoids tin of mints, and I have some vitamin C drops to suck on as I walk. I also will take some of the peanuts from the car EDC and a couple of the MedRx meal replacement bars from my car EDC as well. Notice I'm not taking all the food that's in my car EDC because I may be leaving people behind in the car, and they may need to survive until I can get back with help. The next category is navigation. So to start out, I have a map from my car EDC. Map always works. Then I have my smartphone and the backup battery for my smartphone from my personal EDC. On my phone, again, I have several GPS applications that are loaded, and the maps are all loaded locally, so I don't have to depend on the internet or any downloads. I just have to depend on the GPS satellites being up. I also have a compass and a pair of binoculars, so if I am having to resort to the compass and orienting myself, the compass will help, as well as the binoculars to see what's out ahead of me. I've included a watch. Some people find that interesting, but you need to know how many hours of daylight you have left. When are you suddenly going to be walking in darkness? And that pertains to, should I hole up and wait here, or should I continue on? Should I stay in my vehicle overnight because of the hours of daylight being left and the path that I need to traverse is not well lit, and wait until morning? Along with that is a headlamp, so maybe you think you're only going to be walking for half an hour to an hour in total darkness, and the headlamp or the flashlight are going to be enough for you to do that, as opposed to doing the entire trip in darkness, which I wouldn't recommend. Definitely ups the ante in terms of safety and in terms of proper navigation if you're trying to do the hike in pitch black. So again, this was the category of navigation. So the next category is communication. So first off, I have my smartphone and my battery from my personal EDC. Obviously, if cell phone is up or I have coverage, I can call somebody for help. The next item is my iPod Touch. It has a radio feature in it, so if the reason I'm abandoning my car is due to some sort of natural emergency, I can get updates from hopefully some of the news stations or some of the weather channels. Next, I have a Jetstream whistle, which is really loud. I have a mirror for signaling people. Maybe there's a medical helicopter or something I'm trying to draw attention to myself. Also, I have a pair of binoculars, because if I'm trying to signal them, I have to be able to see what they're signaling back to me. Also in line with the mirror is a flashlight, a chemical glow stick, and then you see a battery-powered glow stick. You can attach the glow sticks to a piece of paracord and spin them in a circle, creating a very large lighted disc for people to be able to see you in the dark. I also have my wallet in case I'm incapacitated for whatever reason that has my ID inside of it so they can see who I am. I then have my medic alert with my information capsule so they can see what I'm allergic to, as well as all my medical information and my emergency contact information. I also have a Write in the Rain notepad, a pen, and a Sharpie. It's a good practice to, whenever you're having to leave the vehicle, to put down when you left, where you're going, what condition you're in, what you have along with you, where you're expecting to end up, and at what time you're expecting to end up there. That way, if anybody's out looking for you, they'll be able to know when you left, what you have with you, where you're trying to get to, what path you're going to take to get there, and when you hopefully should arrive. So they should be able to track your progress and follow your path and somewhere overtake you in your journey and help you out. And so again, this has been my communication category. The next category is first aid. I believe first aid should focus on cuts, scrapes, injuries to your hands, feet, knees, ankles, and other minor issues. Major injuries will end the get-home goal of the journey. So first off, I have my Coleman first aid tin from my personal EDC. If you want to see the contents of that, please go back and view that video. I then have my smartphone, because again, I do have some first aid applications, some Red Cross applications loaded on there in order to help me out. So hopefully that will still be working. I have some nitrile gloves in case I have the opportunity to help somebody else. I then have some hand sanitizer, some wet ones, some Kleenex. From my personal EDC, I also have some Tums, Pepto, and aspirin. And then I come to some items that I hope I won't have to use, because if I do, again, it's going to end my journey home, but I would rather have them than not. Again, the goal is to avoid risky situations that will result in major injuries. So I have a set of shears, a rat's tourniquet, an Israeli bandage, a large abdominal gauze pad, some quick clot, then some 2-inch and 4-inch gauze pads along with a gauze roll and some medical adhesive tape in order to wrap everything up. I also have an ACE bandage for injuries to ankles, knees, and wrists, and then I have some adhesive tape to help tape an ankle, knee, or wrist. I have some foot powder, always important, keep your feet dry. Some finger collarettes in case you get some cuts on your fingers, roll those over a band-aid, it'll help keep them in place. I have some Neosporin, some sunscreen, some 100% DEET insect repellent, always good in the south, and then a magnifying lens in case I need to look at a wound or an injury. So this is basically what I carry within my first aid kit. Again, kind of minimal, but again, I'm trying to avoid those risky situations that may result in major injury. Obviously, if I have a major injury, I'm probably better staying put, waiting for people to find me, than I am trying to wander around and reach them. So this is my final category. This is a basic tool review. Some of these you've seen before in some of the other categories, some of these you haven't. To start out, I have my Smith & Wesson folding knife. This is part of my EDC. I'll be using this for minimal fire and wood prep. Not taking a larger fixed blade, don't figure I'll be doing any batoning or any large fire building. I also have a small Kershaw knife as a backup. I have some pepper spray, some duct tape, which is always good for repairing rips to clothing or ponchos or umbrellas or covering up wounds or blisters. I then have a 25-foot length of paracord. I have a multi-tool, good for getting your stainless steel water bottle in and out of the fire so you don't burn your hands. I then have a battery-powered glow stick and a chemical glow stick. I have my fire steel, a lighter, waterproof matches with cotton balls inside of them, my wet fires. I then have 2 flashlights, a AA and C-cell size. The C-cell can also be used as an improvised weapon or club if necessary, along with a pepper spray. I have a headlamp to use if I end up walking in the dark, binoculars so I can see what's ahead of me, see if people are trying to communicate with me, leather gloves to protect my hands, compass to aid in navigation, watch with a light, compass and thermometer on it, obviously my smartphone with all the different knowledge items that are in there, and the battery to help keep my smartphone running during the day. So this is my tools that I'm carrying. So this was the contents of my 5 to 10 mile get home bag. All of it fits in my expedition bag. although certain items I always keep on my person, such as my phone, my knife, my compass, minimal fire kit of my lighter fire steel, small flashlight, then I'll have my wallet in my pocket, I'll be wearing my medical alert, and normally I have my watch clipped to a belt loop somewhere on me. I tried to keep it to just the items I might need on a short hike home that could be done in about half a day. So I know I'm light in the shelter, water, purification, food, and fire categories. Hopefully this video made you think. I'm interested in your thoughts regarding what I might be missing, what you think I shouldn't be carrying. Please submit your comments and suggestions, and as always, please subscribe. Thank you.